I hate you. Please don't leave me. Wow. I mean, talk about one of the most powerful and honestly confusing things you can ever hear. That one little phrase just perfectly captures the intense, often painful whirlwind at the heart of a condition that is so deeply misunderstood. Today, we're going to dive into what that really means as we take a closer look at borderline personality disorder. Let me ask you something. Have you ever felt like that? Like your emotions aren't just normal ups and downs, but this constant, high-speed, non-stop roller coaster that you just can't get off of? That exact feeling, that metaphor, is often the very first way people start to describe the internal world we're going to unpack today. So let's start right there, with that feeling, that sense of intense emotional whiplash, because really it's a core feature and probably one of the most visible aspects of this condition. And you know where this emotional intensity really shows up? In relationships. A person can go from looking at someone and seeing perfect love, I mean, just completely idealizing them, to suddenly feeling this intense hate or just total devaluation. And the thing is, it's not some gradual shift. Nope. It can happen in a flash, leaving everyone involved feeling completely bewildered and frankly pretty hurt. So this whole pattern of instability, well, it has a name. Let's move on from just describing the feeling and get to the formal definition. Here's what's absolutely crucial to understand. BPD is a recognized mental health condition. This isn't just someone being dramatic or super moody. It is defined by a profound, significant emotional instability that then creates this ripple effect, It ends up impacting a person's relationships, their self-image, and their behavior in huge ways. To really get a handle on BPD, we've got to look at how it's actually diagnosed. Clinicians look for a consistent pattern that includes at least 5 of these 9 key symptoms. So, let's break them down. Okay, first up, we have a trio of symptoms that are all about relationships, not just with other people, but with yourself. There's this frantic, desperate effort to avoid abandonment, whether it's real or just imagined. And we're definitely going to circle back to that. This fear is what fuels that pattern of unstable relationships we just mentioned. And then, internally, there's this deeply unclear or shifting sense of who you even are. Your identity, your goals, your values, it can all feel like it's built on sand. All right, the next group of symptoms really gets into action and reaction. This includes impulsive and often risky behaviors, things like reckless spending or maybe substance abuse. It also includes recurrent self-harming behavior and, of course, those extreme emotional swings we've been talking about, where a mood can just plummet from intense joy to total despair in a matter of hours. And to round out the list, our final 3 symptoms describe these really powerful internal states. A chronic, nagging feeling of emptiness is super common. There can be this inappropriate, intense anger that feels almost impossible to control. And then, during times of major stress, a person might experience dissociation. You know, that really unsettling feeling of being disconnected from your own body or from reality itself, almost like you're just watching your life happen in a movie. Okay, so now that we've seen all the symptoms, you have to ask, right? What in the world is driving all of this? And while it's super complex, a lot of experts point to one overwhelming core fear that sits at the very center of it all. And at the heart of it all, it's something so much bigger than just a simple worry. We are talking about a deep, profound terror of being abandoned or left all alone. This fear can be so powerful that it shapes practically every decision, every reaction, and every perception, a lot of times without the person even realizing it. And that brings us right back to where we started, back to our title. The I hate you part, that's often a preemptive strike, right? A way to push someone away before they can abandon you. But it's immediately followed by that desperate plea, please don't leave me, which just lays bare the absolute terror hiding underneath. This one phrase perfectly sums up that impossible internal conflict. Now, when you hear about these kinds of intense emotional swings, it's really common for another condition to pop into your head. So it's worth taking a quick second to clear up a major point of confusion. So what's the difference between borderline and bipolar? It really boils down to timing and triggers. With bipolar disorder, mood episodes like depression or mania can last for weeks, sometimes even months, and they often don't have a clear external trigger. But with BPD, the emotional shifts are way more rapid. We're talking hours or maybe a day, and they're almost always a direct reaction to something that happened between people, like a perceived rejection or that deep fear of abandonment kicking in. I know that after hearing all of that, this whole condition can sound incredibly daunting, maybe even hopeless, but it is so, so vital that we talk about the reality and the hope here. So, what does the future actually look like for someone with BPD?
And the answer, let me be crystal clear, is a resounding yes. There is hope. BPD is a serious and painful condition, no doubt about it, but it is absolutely treatable. Over the past few decades, amazing specialized therapies have been developed that have been proven to be incredibly effective. So recovery isn't just, a possibility, it's what's expected with the right kind of support.
And what does that treatment actually do? Well, it's not about changing who you are. Not at all. It's about building a toolkit. It's about learning the skills to manage those overwhelming emotions, to take a breath and think before acting on those destructive impulses, and to navigate the tricky world of relationships in a way that feels healthier and more stable.
At the end of the day, understanding is the first step. For people who struggle with BPD and for all the people who love them, knowledge cuts through the fear and helps build empathy. Which kind of leaves us with one last big question. Now that we get it a little better, how can each one of us help break the stigma and create a more compassionate world for people living right on this emotional edge?